Okay, today's video I'm really excited about. We're looking at two paddles from one of my new favorite pickleball companies, Neonic. And I just did a massive breakdown of the bulk of Neonic's line a little while ago, where I also go into detail as to why I think it's one of a handful of pickleball companies that are truly innovative as well as competitive on price. And companies that do both of those things hold a super special place in my heart. So if you haven't watched that, you definitely should. However, today's video is on two of their newer releases. We have the NeonicFlarePrimeX and the NeonicFlow-PrimeX. But before we get too far along, I wanted to let you know Neonic is letting me give one of each of these babies away for free. That's two paddles. So be sure to stick around until the end of the video to see how to enter. But if you want to get a head start, you can go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I also wanted to let you know I'm working on a video of my favorite pickleball accessories, so that's another reason to subscribe because you really won't want to miss that. And if you want a sneak peek, I've got a list down the video description of a lot of the gear I've been testing out, as well as a link to all my favorite pickleball gear you can find on Amazon. On top of that, I'll leave a link to this t-shirt from one of my new favorite clothing brands called Into the AM. Promo code MatthewK will get you a discount with them, and they've got a ton of cool clothing from graphic tees to athletic apparel to choose from and are definitely worth checking out. Okay, now let's get into it. I want to start with the NeonicFlarePrimeX first. This is a 14mm paddle. Its shape is a wide body. Its face is 3 layers: carbon fiber, a middle layer of fiberglass, and then another layer of carbon fiber. It's thermoformed unibody with perimeter edge foam, so it's a Gen 2 paddle, and its core is polypropylene. But this paddle uses 6mm cells, which you don't see quite as often. It's 16 by 8 inches. The grip length is 5.5 inches. The grip circumference is 4 inches. The average weight is 7.7 ounces. The advertised swing weight is 106. The advertised twist weight is 6.8. And this paddle does come with a nice neoprene paddle cover, as well as a 1-year manufacturing defects warranty, which I believe is twice as long as what they used to offer. As for price, it's $126 after you use promo code MatthewK for a 10% discount. And this paddle is USAP approved. Okay, to really understand this paddle, I have to talk about a different paddle first. This is the very similar looking Neonic Flare Prime Control. And this was a paddle Neonic released a few months ago that they discontinued shortly after. And I absolutely love this paddle. It was a power paddle for someone that's really a control leaning player. And the only other paddle I've played with since that felt anything like this was the recent Fire SX paddle from Chorus. I just made a video on that one in case you're curious. But it seems Neonic didn't ever intend to create a power paddle for a control lover. Instead, they wanted a power paddle that was for someone that likes to rip and play fast and be at full tilt until the very end of the point. So after getting their first batch of the controls, they actually made some tweaks to how it was constructed and then created the new Prime version, which is quite a bit different. And I did try to get some more info on the changes they made, but Neonic is keeping some of that info a bit of a secret at the moment. However, the Prime version plays a lot like the OG Control, but with a ton more pop off the face. And I go pretty in depth regarding all the tech going into this particular paddle in that giant Neonic breakdown video I mentioned before, in case you want all the nitty gritty. But the summary is that it's got a unique core with 6mm cells, as well as an unusual face layup that includes fiberglass that results in a super hard-hitting and very, very poppy paddle. And this one also includes targeted weighting inside the paddle at the 4 and 8 o'clock positions, which I'm not 100% sure if the control version had. But that would help explain the static weight coming in at that higher range compared to the original control version, as well as why the swing weight jumped 3 points to 106 compared to the original's 103. There's also a twist weight bump to 6.8 compared to the control's 6.4. But what does this all mean? Well, to cut to the chase, this paddle is a power paddle all day. It hits really hard with full swings and has super, super poppy play off the face. This paddle is not for someone wanting to play a control-oriented game, determined to do drops, resets, and drive the game to dinking to wait for a forced error. In my opinion, this paddle is for someone that wants to play fast and hard and end points as quickly as possible. Once again, in my opinion. However, that does not mean the FlarePrimeX is a blunt instrument without any finesse. It's using all the innovations and little design tricks as the OG control version, just with everything tweaked to turn things up a notch all the way to 11. And that brings me to what this paddle reminds me of, and that's the Bantam Powerline from Paddletek. And those are some of the poppiest, hardest hitting paddles I've ever played with, and I go into a lot of detail on that entire line in this video for anyone that wants to learn more. It's pretty interesting what Paddletek did design-wise. And the NeonicFlarePrimeX has a lot of play similarities to the Paddleteks, so much so it even sounded like a Paddletek to me when I first started testing it out. On my first hit with the FlarePrimeX, I immediately noticed it made a familiar cracking noise as I struck the ball, which I had only clocked with the Bantam Paddleteks prior. It might have something to do with the FlarePrimeX having some kind of weight in its sidewalls, which the Paddleteks do as well. I'm really not sure. However, with the FlarePrimeX, the sound does tone down a bit more after break-in compared to the Bantam paddles, but the power and pop remains very comparable to how it played straight out of the box, even after the sound changes a bit. Once again, this is all in my opinion. However, the thing that really differentiates how the FlarePrimeX plays compared to Paddletek's esq-c and alw-c Bantam paddles is the feel off of its face. Because FlarePrimeX features Gen 2 construction and is cooked hot at the factory, while the Paddleteks use Gen 1 cold press construction, the FlarePrimeX feels much more familiar to me. And if you want more detail on the different construction methods of pickleball paddles, I go over all that in my review on the Bargain Gen 3 Pro Star paddle from Nexus for anyone that wants some more info. And the design choices Neonic's made has resulted in a paddle with a lot of similarities to the Paddleteks, but with a touch and feel closer to what I'm used to, and actually what I prefer. Additionally, I also think Neonic's take holds onto the ball just a tad longer than the Paddleteks, giving you a bit more control as to how to place and shape the ball, which is something I welcomed after feeling the Paddletek's dwell time was just a little too brief for my personal preference. But make no mistake, the FlarePrimeX is still as poppy as an 8-year-old on a pogo stick. It's just a little friendlier in the touch and feel department than the Paddleteks, in my opinion, which is the main reason I find the Paddleteks somewhat difficult to recommend. And before we talk value, I want to bring the hybrid version into the conversation. This is the NeonicFlarePrimeX. This is a 60mm paddle. It's a hybrid. Its face is once again carbon fiber, fiberglass, and carbon fiber. This is a thermoform paddle. It's unibody with perimeter edge foam. So it's a Gen 2 paddle with a polypropylene core. But just like the Flare version, this one is also utilizing 6mm cells. It's 16.25 inches long, and then it has a 7.4 to 7.625 inch taper. The grip length is 5.5 inches. The grip circumference is 4 inches. The average weight is 7.7 ounces. The advertised swing weight is 106. The advertised twist weight is 6.8. And this one also includes a nice neoprene paddle cover as well. There's that 1-year manufacturing defects warranty, and the price is $126 after you use promo code MatthewK to knock off 10%. And this paddle is USAP approved. So this is built like the wide body Prime version, but is 16mm instead of 14mm. And this actually plays very similarly to the OG Flow, which I covered in my big Neonic breakdown for anyone that's curious. This version just has a bit more pop and power coming from the inclusion of that fiberglass in its layup. So the FlarePrimeX is actually much more control oriented compared to its standard counterpart, the FlarePrimeX, and it would be for someone that wants a really solid control paddle that leans all court because of its shape and thickness. That being said, it has a bit more pop than a lot of the paddles in this category because of that inclusion of fiberglass. Also, I think the tactic of including fiberglass in face layups is going to get more and more popular with the paddles coming out in 2025, since the spectrum for competitive power and pop has permanently shifted within pickleball, even as the super powerful paddles are being delisted. As for the FlarePrimeX, I wouldn't say it's overly poppy, and I can easily recommend it to almost every level of player. And I'm not 100% sure if it has that added weight in the sidewalls like its wider sibling. That might be why it's so much more plush than the Flare version, as well as that softer 16mm core playing a big role. And then of course, you can customize the flow with some tungsten and weight it up to make it more power oriented if you'd like. As for the weight I use, I really like the pre-cut 3-gram tungsten strips you can get from EnhancePickleball called BalancePods. And while this tuning tape does cost a little bit more than Bodhi's tungsten tape, which I use on a lot of paddles as well because it comes in both 0.5 gram per inch and 1 gram per inch versions and is a really good value, I like how the BalancePods let you be super targeted because of their tiny footprint that really concentrates where the weight is added and also happens to be the exact same size as the old school pre-cut lead tape we all used to use. Plus, they're super easy to peel off and adjust as you're figuring out where you want to place them, which is pretty important when you're trying to fine-tune your setup. I have links for both kinds of weight down in the video description, and promo code MatthewK should get you a discount with both companies. As for the FlarePrimeX, this category of paddle is a lot more crowded than the poppy power paddle category that the FlarePrimeX sits in. However, it is super competitively priced, which helps it stand out. And that's a good transition to value. As I said, the FlarePrimeX is in a more crowded category of control-leaning all-court paddles. However, being priced at $126 after promo code MatthewK puts it right there with the Vatic Pro Flash, which is $120 after promo code, and also a bit cheaper than 11624's Huarache X Control Plus, which also includes fiberglass in its face and costs $130 after a code. So if you're an all-court player that wants a little sizzle on their short hits with some fiberglass, this is a great option and it's priced super competitively. But the real standout value-wise is the NeonicFlarePrimeX. Also priced at $126 after promo code MatthewK, this paddle gets you a lot of the play characteristics, albeit via different construction methods than the much heftier priced Paddletek Bazooka Bantam series, which are priced at $250 if you buy directly from Paddletek, as they no longer offer discount codes. Or you could purchase a Paddletek from a third party that does offer discount codes. My personal recommendation is a site called Pickleball Madness, where promo code MatthewK will save you 10%, making the Paddleteks $225. But even that is $100 more than the NeonicFlarePrimeX. So if you want power and pop comparable to the popular Paddleteks, but in a Gen 2 thermoform form, the NeonicFlarePrimeX is an incredible option that's pretty unbeatable price-wise. Okay, I know that was a lot, but before we get into the giveaway info, I wanted to talk a little about today's featured accessory. Today's featured accessory is actually too big for me to have on camera, but it's called the DinkMaster Pro from EnhancePickleball. And if you're not familiar with EnhancePickleball, they're a pickleball company that started out by putting out a ton of high quality tutorials and social media content. They're led by a guy named Connor, who's super nice and was actually one of the first pickleball influencers I ever watched. I learned a lot from his videos when I started out. But aside from creating great content, EnhancePickleball is now a gear company as well. Their flagship product is the DinkMaster Pro, which is an updated version of their original DinkMaster that's been super popular. And the original idea of the DinkMaster was to have a surface or board you could hit on at home to practice dinking. So if you don't have a wall available where you live, you can get something like this to do drills. And to be honest, wall drills are the best way to increase hand speed in my opinion, and that's becoming pretty important now that pickleball is speeding up so much. What's really cool about the updated version, the DinkMaster Pro, is that it's a bit wider, so you've got some more drills you can do, and then the board also flips over from one side focused on dinking drills to another side all about speed ups. So instead of focusing on getting under the ball and aiming and placing at targets, the Speedmaster side is one you'll want to step up closer to and practice volleys. And this thing is super thought out. For me, it came packaged really well protected and took a little over an hour to assemble. The instructions were pretty simple, but it did take some time, and parts of it would be easier with a second person as the actual board has got some serious heft to it. And while the board being heavy makes it trickier to put together, it seems like it's built to last. The stand is also made of high quality material, and the casters actually roll and don't tumble over instantly if they hit one little pebble. As for the actual board, it isn't a slab of particle board or something like that. It's actually made of aluminum honeycomb core, so the ball springs back just like it does off of a stiff paddle, and it's supposed to be quieter as well, but that really depends on what you're comparing it to. But on a similar note, another product I really like from Enhance are their Ninja Balls, which play a lot like normal pickleballs on the DinkMaster or any other wall, but are made out of soft foam that's undeniably super quiet. And these things are only $25 for a pack of 3 after promo code MatthewK gives you free shipping. As for the DinkMaster Pro, I think this is a great training tool if you don't have a good wall available to you. And I think it's a super good value for anyone in that situation. Right now it's on sale for $300, so that's $120 less than the advertised $420 price tag. And then special promo code MatthewK15 will knock off another 15 bucks. So it's only $285. And there's no shipping fee for the DinkMaster, which is nice. Also, if you do buy one, it includes a free mini course on drills that gets emailed to you, which I thought was pretty cool. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description in case you're interested. As for the NeonicFlarePrimeX and the NeonicFlarePrimeX giveaway, all you need to do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment which version you're most excited about and why, and then fill out the Google form in the description to have a way to contact you if you win. That's it. I'll run the raffle in about a month, so be on the lookout for an email. There will be a winner for each paddle, so good luck. And that's all I've got. Neonic is proving over and over that they're an innovative company, pricing paddles super competitively. Finally, if you found this review helpful, please consider using promo code MatthewK on your next paddle purchase to help support the channel. I have a lot of the popular brands listed below, and my master list has even more. I'll be sure to leave a link for Neonic's site at the very top, and don't forget to use promo code MatthewK to get that 10% discount. You can also support the channel by purchasing some of the cool pickleball gear I've been testing out by using the links and codes in the video description below. I also have a link to my favorite pickleball gear you can get on Amazon down there as well, and that's got some really cool hidden gems you wouldn't expect. And then of course, hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and slamming that notification bell all go a long way to helping me out as well. Thank you so much for the support. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon, and just don't forget, it's about having fun.